Good morning, guys. Hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk about this question: is there a way to cordially break up with someone? For context, here's the message that I received. I've been through a couple of breakups and neither ended well. In many ways, when I look back, it took me some time to get over those relationships, not because of the person I was dating and it was taking a long time to get over the person, but more because of the way the breakups went down. Ending a relationship with someone you had good times with and shared love with in such a negative manner made me a lot more careful in the future with letting someone new in, more guarded and hesitant to open up to people in general. And it all overall left a negative taste in my mouth about relationships. I am planning to end my current relationship. She's a great person and I don't want to end in a toxic or angry manner like my last breakups. So I was wondering if you had any advice on a good way to handle breakups so that they can end cordially. So I think this is actually a great question. Obviously any advice that I'm giving is, from the assumption that the two individuals are in a healthy relationship and, not in a physically abusive or toxic relationship of any sort. Obviously I don't feel qualified to answer the question in those situations. I'm answering it. You're in a healthy relationship and you want to end things cordially. So first I want to just say I think it's quite noble that you're asking this question, because it shows a lot about your character and the care you have for the person that you're currently in a relationship with. I think much like a lot of things in life, you need to understand what you control and to focus on that, and the things that are out of your control, like how your partner reacts or handles it, realize that's not in your control, and have that understanding, because you can go about breaking up with someone in a really respectful way and they might not handle it that well. You may view that as not cordial, but in terms of the way you approached it from your side, I would argue that you did a good job in trying to handle it cordially. The second thing I want to talk about is, and you didn't really ask this question, but I think it's kind of interesting to think more about why breakups don't often end cordially, and I just want to talk a little bit about that. And I think, a great example sort of is the comparison with professional relationships versus personal relationships. So, for example, in a professional context, when people leave or get fired or get a performance review, you as the individual can separate your professional identity or professional performance from who you are and your value as a person, right? How well you did your job or didn't do your job is not indictment on you as a human being. That again is, that's a separate video. I mean, that can, a lot of people can't make that separation, but theoretically, those are two different things. In a personal relationship breakup, it's the exact opposite from the professional one, because it's all personal identity. A breakup is essentially saying, and obviously, hopefully communicated in a nice and respectful manner, but it's basically saying, I don't think you personally are the right fit for my future, and within love, there's so many personal feelings, involved: self-esteem, insecurities, thoughts on the future, and I would say it's very hard for the person on the receiving end to not take it personally and not view it as a reflection of them. And so, I mean, that's why I think I just gave that example, but I think that's why you often see, professional relationships end cordially more often than personal relationships, and hopefully that's a good comparison on why. Within the actual breakup process, if I had to give advice, I'd say the first thing is obviously be prepared with your reasoning and your thoughts, and think about how your partner will react, and expect drawback and expect emotional reactions. And I think one thing you should understand is we're all human, and the individual, your partner, responding emotionally shouldn't scare you. I know you've had some, it's taken you a while from your past experiences because they might have been, emotionally charged arguments, but I think, in this situation, obviously there, with tone levels and level of voices, obviously, there's a way to conduct yourself, but in general, responding with emotion is almost always is going to happen for the person getting broken up with. But I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. That shows care for the relationship. I almost think if there isn't any emotion and they're kind of cool with it, or they're robotic, I would almost question, did they even care about the relationship? Did they love you? I think you should expect emotional responses. I think within that, try to stay as calm and as measured as you can. I think, hear their arguments, and with what they counter with based off of your reasoning. And if you're able to, on the spot, bring up why their solution wouldn't work, then bring that up, or maybe say, I'll think about what you said and give it some more time, and then communicate with them later. Maybe another assumption I should have said at the beginning of this video, from the way things are phrased in the message, it seemed like you, the individual, were pretty confident that you wanted the breakup. So that's kind of how I'm handling this. I'm not addressing if you're unsure about whether the breakup's the right thing or not. I think, the breakup should happen in person. I think that's the most respectful way and provides the best closure for both parties, is hearing it in person, seeing the facial expressions and things like that. I don't think arguing or breaking up over text is that great. If you want to do FaceTime, I guess that might be okay, because at least you're seeing, you're still seeing the individual's reactions and facial expressions. I think another reason why breakups don't end cordially is because of the aftermath, and the couple doesn't actually break up and they linger on and stay connected, for several months or whatever after the quote-unquote breakup. And that lingering on can make things messy, because are you in a relationship, are you not, and what, and things like that. So, I would say, try to end it, and, and if that means stopping, communication after a certain point, stopping seeing the person, just try not to let it linger. I think the other thing that can play in is friends and family, and I think, what I would say in the post-breakup process is, you know, ask your friends and family to, you know, keep the gossip to a minimal. Um, you know, I think things can get pretty uncordial when, you know, because anytime you're in a relationship, you usually have a good amount of mutual friends, and then, and maybe one party hears that certain things are being said and don't like how it's being characterized, and so I think, you know, you communicating to your friends, you know, try to say, you know, whatever you feel like is the bare minimum, I guess, so that there isn't much to, you know, put out there in the gossip world, and then also ask for their, uh, ask them to keep, things as quiet as possible. And I guess I think the final thing I would say, um, if it doesn't end cordially how you want it to, give it time. Again, I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but, I've personally, with, friends and things like that, I've heard several stories where an ex of theirs is called 3 or 4 years, whatever, removed from the situation, and, whatever, either sent, called or sent a text and apologized for the way things were handled. And I'm not saying that that's a guarantee, but I think with time, with healing, with reflection, people do, get to more of a less emotionally charged state, more of a common sense state, and, they have sympathy for trying to leave someone that they shared love with, in a better footing. And so, I'm not saying that you should wait on that, but I think if it doesn't go as well as you want it, there is always that hope, maybe, that happens. But yeah, hopefully, some of that advice might help, in your handling of this breakup that you have to do, in a cordial manner, hopefully. And yeah, if there are any comments or thoughts or feedback, feel free to leave them, and I'm happy to respond and go from there. Thanks, guys. Hope you're doing well.